Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday, joined by the brilliant, the wonderful LB Egal stepping in this week. Thank you very much indeed for Potsy, who's on holiday with, I assume it's his missus, even though there's been some funny Instagram posts that suggest it's not. I mean, it must be an in-joke between them. It's like a friend zone thing. I don't know. Is that let us know, please, Potsy. I'm intrigued by your Instagram stories. Loads of transfer stories to talk about today. Maignan to Chelsea off, but a 50 million bid has just been made for Gittens to make him a player before the Club World Cup. 50 million pounds for that man. We're looking at Mbeumo and Gyökeres, some big updates this afternoon on them. We're talking Cherki. We're talking the whole rejuvenation of the midfield and attacking elements of Manchester City, getting LB's views and opinions on that. Plus, Arsenal, the deal for Zubimendi confirmed and agreed. Sesko next on the agenda for the Gunners. But boys, before we go any further, how are you both? You both well and good?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How you guys been? It's been a minute.
Good. My rebuild's going well, innit? So I'm happy. Yeah, I'm saying Club World Cup, flying out to America. I'm not flying out. Yeah, I mean, I could VPN to America. You know what I mean? Be there virtually. But yeah, no,
you're gonna have to change your sleeping patterns. Aren't the games on late?
Nah, I've only got one game at 2 a.m., which is decent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know, man. It'll be funny. It'd be funny doing a watch along at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Can't lie.
One of the
it's like
best
preseason.
Yeah.
One of the best streams I ever did. It wasn't a game, but it was the Caicedo news when Liverpool's bid was accepted, and it was so random because I woke up at 2 o'clock to go to the bathroom, sat down, and I just went, I'll check my phone in case some news has broke, and literally I logged in 30 seconds after the bomb dropped, and I was like, shit, I better go. I better go to work. So I literally washed my face, stuck some clothes on, run downstairs, the thumbnail, getting ready to go live. And then just before I went live, I went, no one's going to watch this. There we were with 8,000 people watching at 2 a.m. in the morning. My first thought was, the fucking, you guys got work tomorrow. That was my first thought. What the fuck are you all doing up this late? But yeah, that was a crazy night. Sometimes those late night streams can be very, very interesting. They can indeed. But by the way, if you want ticket prices to the Club World Cup, I've heard they're going proper cheap. Cheapy. No one wants to go in America. But there we go. I'm looking forward to it though. I'm actually really excited about this tournament. I can't wait to watch it. I think it could be the next.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, but I think that FIFA have messed it up a little bit, haven't they, with how they've done it. You know what I mean? First of all, they've gone to a country that it's not necessarily a footballing country, as the main sport. So that's going to be tough. And then they just tried to basically fleece the Americans, is what they tried to do by charging them £500 a ticket or whatever. And they probably weren't that interested. And now they just try to give them away. People are probably just nah, don't want it. So yeah, it's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. At the end of the day, they can get seat fillers and get people free tickets to walk in there. That's what they're going to end up having.
Yeah, they probably, as you say, they probably should have done it in a footballing country, because you do that in England this summer, every ground's selling out.
Yeah, I think as long as the price correctly, if they priced correctly, they would have been sold out. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
no, but you know what they're doing? I think it was a trial for the World Cup, just to see the logistics on some of the grounds and everything.
Yeah, I get that. But you got to remember, England have more fans than Chelsea because there's a whole country, right? So you've Spain has more fans than Madrid, not globally, but in terms of fans that will actually diehards that will travel to games is what I'm talking about, and that's the difference. These games will get a lot of views on TV, but the millions of Chelsea fans, Madrid fans, Bayern fans that are global, most of those individuals don't fly regularly to games. They just don't. Most fans that go home and away to watch their football club play are normally locals or from the country the team's from. United, they do have a handful of fans that I used to come across at away games that were from Scandinavia and Ireland. But Ireland essentially is next door. Do you know what I mean? Parts of Ireland are closer to Manchester than London is. But I think it's that's the only issue with taking it to the other side of the world. It's harder for those diehard European fans to get to those games, and there's less of them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the matches, though. They'll be fun on TV, no doubt about it. Terry, stop spreading fake news. It's 50 million euros. I didn't say it was 50 million pounds. I said it was a 50 million bid. The title says 50 million euros. So, cry more. We'll start with Chelsea, though, Potsy, and 50 million euros. I repeat, euros. That's euros. Egal, euros. LB, does not forget it's euros.
It's euros. Yeah, euros.
Okay, 50 million euro bid just gone in, according to Fabrice Hawkins, who's very, very good and accurate, for Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund. The initial bid of 35 million euros, again, that's euros, was turned down. This is to bolster their attack ahead of the World Club Cup. Thoughts on this deal, boys?
Got it, Gal. You go start off, bro.
Honestly, I think Gittens a quality player, better than Garnacho, in my opinion. So they're already getting a good player. They're also keeping it similar to what they're doing with the former City players. They have Cole Palmer, they have Lavia, they have Tosin, they have all these former City Academy players, plus the former City Academy manager. It seems like they're going for familiarity, and with Gittens, he does look like a really good 1v1 player.
Some breaking news.
All right.
Borussia Dortmund have immediately rejected the second bid of 50 million euros for Jamie Gittens. Dortmund want more. They're asking for 70 million euros. The bid has been rejected. Live.
Ooh, so we might go to 50 million pound then.
Wow.
Oh. Now, what's going on? Chelsea are so funny, man. It's such a funny club, bro. Like, what's going on here? Like, why decided a 20-year-old man? What's going on? Why did they decide some like experienced professionals, mate?
I think they're gonna get two. I think they're gonna get two wingers. That's the thing. This is just one of the two.
So that the other winger's going to be more experienced. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And who's the other one?
Maybe like a Kudus.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is. I don't know, Chelsea, man, making these weird moves, man. Like, I don't know. Like, listen, this guy's a good player, yeah. I'll be real, but are they going to go up to 70 million quid?
Euros.
The question is, does he solve a problem that they have? Their left-hand side is not really doing well. Their right-hand side looks good. You can put Neto there, you can put Cole Palmer there, you can put Madueke there, but their left-hand side has always been a mess.
But let me ask you a question, though.
I'm not the biggest Chelsea. I'm one of the biggest Chelsea haters, but I'll be honest. I think it's a good deal. It's just they're paying over the odds.
Well, when you say good deal, right? What are Chelsea's expectations for next season? Is it to win the league?
Challenge.
Right. So does this guy come in and push them towards that? I don't know if he does.
He's better than what do you call it, Sancho and
but that's not that. Yeah, but that's not how you should run your football club and buy players just because he's better than Sancho and better than Mudryk, who's not even here anymore. Like, surely there's someone else better on the market that they can go and get.
Hey, I was looking at him because Arsenal were linked to him. He's really good 1v1. And what they need is somebody on that left-hand side that's 1v1 and can beat their man and get the ball in and help them set up their attack. I do think he brings more balance to their team. Now, they might be paying over the odds because of the potential, but unfortunately, that's what football is nowadays. You pay more for potential. I don't think it's a bad deal if Chelsea get him for a reasonable price. Now, I don't know what that price is going to be. Dortmund seem to always ask for ridiculous money, but Chelsea's scouting team have done quite well recently with some of their talents. I'm not necessarily saying this guy is going to be amazing, the next Cole Palmer, but I wouldn't write him off. He is very talented.
I'm not writing him off. It's more a case of, like, if you're a Chelsea fan, are you not just watching your club buy another young player and go, it might take 2-3 years for him to, like, fully settle?
As long as they get another winger on top, is there a problem?
Well, I do think it's a problem. I think you've got to stop, but you can't just keep buying 20-year-olds, bro.
Okay, let me flip it on you. You did that with your defense. You need defensive cover. You bought a bunch of 20-year-olds. What's wrong with you doing that?
Hang on a minute. Yeah, their backup, their rotation. Gittens is going to come in as a starting left winger. My centre back partnership next year is probably going to be Diaz and Gavadio, who are 24 and 27.
Fairs. And they still have Madueke. They still have Cole Palmer who can play there.
Madueke is not good enough for Chelsea, so that's irrelevant.
Madueke was one of their better performing wingers.
Yeah, he's not good enough.
Well, okay, what about Pedro Neto?
I don't think he's good enough.
Really?
But I think he's a power league player. I do not rate him at all.
Maybe I rate Chelsea's team more than you do.
I think you do, evidently.
Really?
I think they've got some really good players, yeah. But I think there's still work that needs to be done on that team. And if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd just be like, why are we signing another 20-year-old? Another 20-year-old that's going to need time. Do you know what I mean? Are they entering a phase situation like Arsenal? Like, why are they not going out there hitting the market hard and getting some proper experience, some players that are mega that could take them to the title? This is a team, Miguel, that spent £1.5 billion. £1.5 billion. And they're still signing these young players who's like, I don't know, man. I just feel like with Chelsea, are they going to be the next like Arsenal? And we're going to be sitting here in 3 years going, they're finally going to be ready after they spent $2 billion. Like, I don't know, man. Me personally, I just don't agree with the way that they're handling their business. Yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to the goalkeeper situation. That's crazy, and I don't agree. And it's just not my. Yeah, listen, some people like it. Some people like buying these young players and watching them develop. I just think it's not the right thing for Chelsea to be doing right now. I don't mind you get a couple of them in and around the squad, but I think they've got too many. And I think this summer was the summer that they needed to go and hit the market hard. They've already signed Delap. He's another young player. Now they're going to go and get Beno Gittens, another young player. And then what we'll do is he'll probably won't win anything. And then at the end of the season, all the Chelsea fans will be going, oh, well, maybe next year or 2 years later. It's just time and time and time. It's not the right move, man.
Let's just go to a few of these. What I would say about buying somebody else, Igawi, Ben Jacobs was talking earlier on. I mean, so far what Ben Jacobs said 2 weeks ago is turning out to be right. They were going to get 2 strikers, but they're now no longer willing to pay the 100 million euros wanted for Ekitike. They're currently not in the market for Gyökeres. They're not in the market for Osimhen. The salary demands are too high. So it is young and up-and-coming players. They've now moved to Gittens. They've got Giovanni Kenda coming in next year for big money. 50. I want to say 40 million euros. It could be 50 million euros. Chelsea fans in the chat, correct. Make sure I'm correct on that one there. Welcome, Canadian Cam as well. Cam, you ever met LB before? LB, you met Cam before?
I haven't met him. No, I've watched him a lot, but I've never met him personally. What's up, man? Nice to meet you, bro.
What's good, Cam? How you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's good, homie?
Yeah, zoom in and take that mess out of the shot there, LB. Let's get that. My office is like that. If I'm outside this shot, it's a mess. I just get it just right. But yeah. So I don't know how many more attackers they can buy. You get to a point. I know, so there is this challenge of Dave on the show yesterday said that we don't want to mess up our kind of process. We don't just want to buy someone who breaks the bank. And I get that to a certain degree. But are there better, more prolific, but more further advanced wingers than Gittens who score more, create more, that are not going to come in and demand 300 grand a week? That's the big question. We go to some of the super chats. There's been a lot that have come in early in comments from Chelsea fans. This is Gav, who says our sporting directors are incompetent unless it's a player they know from a previous job. Fumbled the Caicedo deal, then had to overpay. Window 4 of their 4 windows planned substandard players. 6 windows, still no spine. Grey Wolf's Dinner here, 63 months a member. Big up yourself, Grey Wolf's Dinner. Says Gittens is just a worse Madueke. Why bother? I feel like this club is just going in circles. Maresca masked the sporting director's terrible recruitment last season. I do have faith in this coach, but the club needs to back him. Elijah, another one of our members here, says, get these sporting directors out of my fucking club now. And so there's a lot of Chelsea fans watching the show who are not happy with this business. Clearly they want more experience.
Rightly so, because they know what they're talking about, man. Terry. They're sick and tired of it, man. They spent 1.5 billion and they're sitting here and signing another 20-year-old. They've just said they're not signing a goalkeeper. I mean, what are Chelsea fans meant to do? I'd be asking questions if Chelsea fans were happy. They ought to be fuming. This is a football club that won the Champions League, 4 years ago or something, yeah? And these owners have come in here. They spent 1.5 billion. They should be the best team on the planet. The best team on the planet they should be. And it's crazy work, man. It's crazy. And people sit here and just make excuses for these directors and owners that you'll never meet. They don't care who you are. For some reason, people love to protect directors. I don't get it. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
I was listening backstage for a bit, and I agree with LB. Like, I think Chelsea is being strict on their whole wage structure rule or whatever. And I think at some point you have to break it. I don't think you're going to be able to compete for the highest honors if you're not going to pay somebody above odds to come in and kind of make it clear that they're that guy. And when you have Quenda coming in next year, what's the point of getting another young player to play in front of him right now? Like if you expect him to take a while, and then Gittens is going to take a bit, and then there's Rodrygo and Nico Williams on the market, who I know Nico Williams is young, but he in football years, he's not. He's played a ton of football, a ton of meaningful football. If you have the money, which you do at Chelsea, I think you go and get one of those guys and make a serious point of intent. Then you're like, all right, we're here now. We've done the rest of our squad's good. We're playing well. I haven't watched Gittens. I can't even say I've watched him at all. Like, I'm not going to pretend. But a 21-year-old from Borussia Dortmund, like, I've been there. As a United fan, we've been there. So,
yeah. There's a comment here that says, LB, who are we supposed to sign? Please outline an attainable left winger who wants to come to the club.
Well, you tell me there's no left wingers out there.
You could go get Nico Williams.
Go and test Barcola. I know he's still a young player, but
Nico Williams wants ridiculous wages.
I don't. That
was my point. Yeah.
I think we're kind of being harsh on Chelsea. They're looking at a different timeline to you guys. Maybe they're not saying to themselves they're ready to win right now and compete right now, but they're getting young players that suit what they want. Gittens, as much as we haven't seen enough of him in the British game, what he was doing at Dortmund last year and what he's shown that he's really good dribbler. He's shown that he's really good at getting into the final third and creating chances for his teammates. And non-penalty goals, he was up there in that league last year. And I'm not necessarily writing him off or saying it's a bad signing. I just think for the money that they're going to be spending, maybe they should be in the Rodrygo bid for like we are, or they should be going for Leal. I hear that. But as long as they're getting two wingers of quality this window, be it a Kudus and a Gittens, then I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have one young up-and-coming player with another more experienced player coming in the same window.
What's the end result?
The end result is they are going to have enough strength and depth where they can compete in the Champions League, compete for the cups, and they're going to have a good enough team where they can.
But when you say compete, though, they're not going to win the Champions League, though, are they? With Kudus and Gittens and Delap up front.
I'm not sure what all their business is. Terry is more aware of
that. That's so far.
That's their business.
You're telling me. So if they get Delap, Kudus, and Gittens, they're not winning the Champions League, are they?
Terry, are they not going to get another striker because of the money?
Well, again, I mean, look, I'm only going by the same reports everybody else is reading. There is reports of them going for another striker. They want Ekitike, but they've walked away from the deal because Frankfurt are demanding 100 million euros. There is no credible report yet that they've made any inroads with Sesko. He's of interest. There's no credible reports that they've made any inroads this summer so far into the Gyökeres deal. So
Ekitike?
That's what I just mentioned him. They're walking away.
Do you think Delap's on that sit on the bench, you go?
He's been given the number 9 shirt.
He's going to be the starting striker.
He's the number 1.
All I know is from all the Chelsea fans that I spoke to when they signed Delap, they're like, he's underwhelming if he's the first choice, but if he's the backup,
well, he's going to be the first choice. So I ask you again.
But if he's the backup
again, are they going to win the Champions League with Beno Gittens, Kudus, and Delap?
I don't think so.
Are they going to win the Premier League with Kudus, Delap, and Beno Gittens?
For 1 second, I'm looking at that Esteval kid, the Brazilian kid, see how he does also. They do have talents in their squad. And young teams, they might not be able to get over the line right away, but next year they might shock one of us. There could be a situation where they finish above either Arsenal, Man City.
But I don't care about that, bro. They don't care about finishing above Arsenal.
Now you just brought up Esteval.
No, but I'm saying they could be in and amongst the pack. You never know.
You have Esteval.
I think we're looking too deep at what they're bringing in this summer.
Chelsea fans don't want to be in and amongst the pack, Gal. They want to win the trophies.
Last year, Chelsea were not that far off from the rest of the pack, and
exactly.
I think with the signing of what do you call it, Delap and a winger, and bring in more defensive quality like a goalkeeper and another defender, they're not that far away.
But I don't think Chelsea's that far away. You keep saying one thing, but ignoring what you're actually saying, which is crazy. You're like, they aren't that far away. They were in and around the pack. All these things, correct. You are so right. So this is the moment to strike. Like, this is when you do it. You don't just keep bringing in players to stay in and around the pack. Like, you brought up Esteval, and you brought up Gittens, you're like, let all these kids grow. But then they also have Quenda coming in, and that's important for people to understand. Like, they bought him because he's supposed to be like one of them ones, like one of those kids who's coming up to be the best at his position. So now you have all of these players. And I agree. Like, normally I'm the person who says, if you come in and you're better, then you take the guy's spot. I'm one of those people for sure. But at some point, when are they all going to be able to do that when they're so young? And it's like at some point you do need to be able to give a path to some of them. Like, I do, like, otherwise they just all get stuck. So right now, in my opinion, Rafael Leao's available. I don't rate him crazy, but he still would be better after especially what I saw him do in that game against, like, he's still better than what they have on the left-hand side. Rodrygo, we have to see if he wants to leave. If he actually indicates he wants to leave, at least put your name in the hat. Another point, Nico, like, I'm naming guys who you said, like, what left wingers? I get it. They're all asking for crazy money, but Chelsea can pay it. So you hit a point. And, like, let's be serious. There is a striker out there that I'm so shocked, and it makes no sense. And I don't get why they didn't just pay the money to go get him, is Victor Osimhen. Perfect for them. If you told us, I bet you right now, LB, if I said we put Victor Osimhen on that team right now, would you probably say, there you go. That is an intent to win the league.
I always say this, yeah.
Even Saudi clubs are rejecting him.
Right, wait a sec, yeah. For me, it's all about intent, yeah. Like, I'm looking at Chelsea. I don't see intent. I think if Chelsea fans are probably looking at these transfers and going, what are we even doing this season? What's the plan? We're not going to win the Champions League. We're not going to win the Premier League. So what is it? Are we just a team that just try to get top 4 every year and maybe win a domestic cup? This is the point, Igal. It's like, what's the end game? At some point, you have to move away from just buying 20-year-olds unless they're generational superstars and actually buy proper players. Like, going in for the Rodrygos of this world.
Let's go to some of the comments here for a second. Ben here says, thank you, Igal. As a Chelsea fan, I agree with you. Dude is just hating. The new ownership at Chelsea are sticking to their model. Time will tell to see if it's
hang on a minute. Can I respond to that then, please?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Ben's clearly a Chelsea fan. So I'm asking you a question, Ben, yeah? And for me, this is a very simple question. You're looking at the business City are doing. You're looking at the business Liverpool are doing, yeah? And you're looking at the business Chelsea doing. Are Chelsea more likely to get closer to City and Liverpool or further away with the signings they're making? For me, there's only one answer.
I think as well, when you look at the one thing I would say is this. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying some young players, but I do feel they need to add some quality experience. And that brings us on to that. We'll come back to some more super chats in a minute. This here from Jiggy, who's a Chelsea fan, says Dortmund reportedly rejected 50 million euros. Yeah, they want 60 million euros is what's now being reported. Is kind of the minimum they would accept in British pounds. That the irony, gents, that's 50 million pounds if they end up bidding that. But he is saying here, just leave the deal at this point. These teams are taking us for fools.
If they leave that deal, Garnacho's coming to them.
But again, I would love Garnacho to leave. But Man United want around 50 to 60 million for him. And Ben Jacobs today said, and I've got Ben Jacobs on tomorrow, so I want to question him on this, that United are not in a great position to negotiate. Well, I think we are if there's 3 or 4 clubs that are interested in him. That's literally that's the best place for any club to be in terms of getting the price that you want. But Nick here says most reasonable Chelsea fans agree with you, LB, but the owners and the directors have their vision. We're just passengers and can only go along with it. Mm-hmm. This here from Kay, who says the problem is the directors feel vindicated for the strong finish to the season. LB is right. We need experience desperately.
Can I just quickly respond to that one as well?
Of course, right?
You can praise Chelsea for what they did last year, getting top 4, winning the Conference League, great. But you can't just keep doing the same thing, because now you need to change strategy. Yeah, at Chelsea's strategy now needs to change, because now they're pushing to try and win the league. That should be the aim for Chelsea this year, to win the league. And for that, you need to push and get better players in who are more experienced.
I think the one thing it does answer,
they still need to invest correctly.
They do, but that's not. They do need to invest correctly, and yes, they don't need to go and buy a mercenary that doesn't want to be there. But most Chelsea fans said if their title race last year would have lasted longer if Osimhen came in the January. If Gyökeres came in the January, they would have come in and scored a lot more goals for them. Now, Delap may come in, and be a prolific goal scorer and score 25 goals. And then we'll come back to this conversation and say it was a little bit of folly. At the same time, though, if they're saying, right, we're going to go for these options because they're cheaper on salary, sometimes cheap can be expensive. And there's a mathematical game my teacher played with us at school, and it was a great question, and I couldn't understand it until I was a little bit older. But if every step, say you're 100 yards away from a wall, if every step you take is only 50% of the distance to the wall, you never reach the destination. You can never get to your end result. And that's why sometimes it's not about going silly and dropping £600,000 a week on a player that has no desire to come to Chelsea, but offering him stupid money to come. At the same time, though, if there's a prolific, seasoned, experienced, title-winning, Champions League ready, middle-aged in terms of football, 24, 25, 26-year-old striker, a midfielder, a defender that you can bring in, it makes sense. It's why there was universal praise for the approach of Maignan, because he's one of the best goalies in the world. He's experienced. He's a great age. And we're going to get onto that in a minute. But Kay also here says, Leao, Matoma, Barcola would even try to keep Sancho. I think he would have cooked in the Champions League. Right now, all our links, aside from Kudus, are sideways moves. Patrick Lynch here says, when looking at Chelsea's transfers, I asked, do they add something new, different to their squad? At least with the lap, he is a different type of striker to Jackson. Absolutely. Does Gittens add something they don't have?
A 1v1 threat on the left-hand side.
But Neto is that when he plays on the left. Madueke is that when he plays on the left.
Neto should be playing on the right.
Yeah, but then where does but what the point is, though, is Gittens better than Madueke? I don't know if the answer is yes.
I think the answer is yes, from what I've seen in
It's probably marginal, but I don't know. Like, when you say a one-on-one threat, that's exactly what Madueke is. He just doesn't have end product.
I think he's better than Madueke, but I don't think he's a big enough jump.
There's also familiarity with the manager and the players. So let's not act like there's not another factor in why they're purchasing all these former Man City graduates.
That's just a horrendous reason to buy players.
No, but familiarity is a big part of how
when we say there's no end product, though, Gittens played the same age, I think. He's got 12 goals last year for Dortmund in Germany. Like Madueke got 12 for Chelsea. I mean, there's not much difference in the output. And
yeah, no, I still think he's a bit better than him. But can I just address
sense,
that reasoning to buy players is ridiculous. You don't just buy players because you buy the best players available.
2 years ago,
people do use the recruitment. When people are recruiting players, they definitely use what they're familiar with, and I do think that's why Maresca is going for a lot of former Man City graduates.
Oh, that's crazy.
2 years ago, young players are the current more senior, and yes, some are improving and getting to that level. I just look at it this way. I think they're doing some. I think the lap's good business. We'll get onto Maignan in a minute. I thought that was an amazing piece of business in goal for them. And the summer isn't over. Today's deadline day isn't the end of the summer window. I just think when you look at what Liverpool are buying, when you look at what City are buying, are they bridging the gap? Chelsea, yes. But then if the teams ahead of them are then buying better, buying more experience, they could end up further away, even though they've improved themselves. Like relativity exists here. If I'm a 100-meter sprinter and I work at shading off 1/100th of a second of my time, I've caught the pack based on last year's numbers. But if they've all improved their time by 2 100ths, I've actually, you know what I mean? I might now be further behind. You know what I mean? Or at least the same distance. So I do think they have to look at that. And look, a lot of Chelsea fans are agreeing. If our front three is Cunha, Mboma, and Gyökeres, I'm happy. I mean, look, I just look at that and think to myself, that's the type of experience I think Chelsea need to be looking at. Maybe not the individual players, but I think, like I said last summer and was proven right on, the Netos and those experienced players, those 25, 26-year-old players were so important, especially in that run-in. Tosin came in, excellent as an example. Having the older players like your Cucureas as an example stepped up massively. That experience, especially when we're nitpicking now as well. We're talking about Chelsea getting into title races. And you yourself, Igal, have seen what happens to a team when there isn't quite enough experience in a title race. You fall short, and they've got to be aiming for that. And there is opportunities for it. LB Stream finished 2 points. Sorry, LB Stream finished 2 points ahead.
Team finished.
Team. LB's team. Sorry, my brain. And he is worried at our lack of signings. We will see.
Yeah, so again, it's a very simple question. Do you think City's signings and the signings Chelsea are making, you're getting closer to us, or are we getting closer? Are we getting further away? There's only one answer.
This is true. And look, this here from Gav, and it brings us on to the point. I know we've been kind of skirting about it for about 10 minutes now, but the Maignan deal, Mike Maignan is off. Gav here says he's a needle mover and we're haggling over money. I'd easily make it up with these savings. So, the few Chelsea fans in our group chat, the likes of Ches and Co, were saying that, Chelsea fans shouldn't be crying over £10 million. Will come back after the Club World Cup. AC Milan may not drop their price. Cam, do you think they've dropped the ball here, Chelsea, ahead of this big tournament in bringing in a top-class number 9?
Ahead of the tournament, or like in general in the summer? You're saying
they could have had him in for the Club World Cup. And then and then the deal's done. I mean, in a month's time, someone else could have signed him theoretically.
Yeah, I still think if they want him, I still think they will. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Club World Cup's adding a little element of over panic to some teams. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think I get it. It's going to be an exciting tournament and all that, but if Chelsea's sitting there saying, we truly believe, and this is me being objective, that we can get Maignan later in the window for less, I don't think that's a big deal, because I think, in my opinion, when you're weighing it up long term, if you really think you can win this tournament, then go spend the money. But if you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, my options are trying to win this tournament with Mike Maignan, we think he gets us over the line, or saving the 10 million and getting him later, me personally, I'd probably go save the 10 million, because I don't think they're going to win this tournament personally. I don't think they are. I don't think they're there yet. And I think if you're looking at how young their team is and all that, I don't think there's evidence there to say that they should be a favorite. So save the money, go get him. But if you don't go get him, now this is where I'll change my mind. If you don't go get him later in the window, then you drop the ball heavily, because he was right there. You might as well have brought it. You know what I mean? It's a weird one, because their keepers aren't good enough. They don't believe in any of their keepers. They told us they don't believe in any of their keepers because they didn't rotate. They let Sanchez suck the whole time. So that tells me you don't trust your other keepers as much. You can brief the media, you can brief PR all you want and say, we'll let them fight it out. But yet you had an opportunity to do a little bit of that in a year. So I don't think it's a ball drop to not get him in before the tournament, me personally. I think it's a ball drop if you don't get him in at all at that price. He's already indicated he wants you, and it's not expensive, and he's a big upgrade on what you have. That being said, I'm part of the crew of, I've been recruited to the Black Brothers who don't believe in Black Brothers behind the goal. I looked at his stats. I looked deep into his stats, because I was wondering why we weren't going in for him, because we need a keeper. And it's just the biggest issue with him is injuries. And a keeper that gets injured a lot is a scary proposition, because it's the one position that if you truly rely on this guy and he's always out or always terrible, you're in trouble. So
Chelsea have changed their approach in negotiations. Before, it used to be get it done by any means necessary. Right now, it seems to be they know they need a keeper. They know they want a better keeper than what they have, but they're not going by the same old approach where it was get it done by any means necessary.
I mean, it's kind of smart.
They're in one breath, you could say they're learning from the Enzos and overpaying in the past. But in another breath, this is not an expensive deal in the grand scheme of things.
No.
Mike Maignan is probably the biggest needle mover out of all the potential signings they could make going into the Club World Cup. And I do think they're going to regret it, not getting this deal done before the Club World Cup. There's going to be a mistake from Robert Sanchez early in the Club World Cup, and they're going to think back to themselves, maybe we should have spent the extra money just to get Mike Maignan in earlier. And then
how much are they asking for?
They're asking for like 18 million or something like that.
20 million pounds, but he's in this last year, and he's indicated fully that he only wants Chelsea. So it's like they're in a spot where if he was going anywhere else, they wouldn't be demanding that fee.
Million?
They just wouldn't know. But it's like it's like they just I see both sides. I'm trying to be objective. It's like I think they're just like, well, we don't really have to pay that because he doesn't want to go anywhere else and we just want to be there. And I just see it. I see why they're doing it. I understand.
But I'd understand if the price was like 40, 50 million quid.
Bro, they spent 25
18 million quid.
They spent 25 on Petrovic last season, did they not?
And that was a mistake. Like, this is the thing. I'm just saying, like, I get it. I understand why, if you truly believe you can get this player for less, why you would wait. That's just where my head's at.
Because you've got a tournament that you can go and win a tournament.
Yeah, I don't think they have any shot of winning.
It's 18 million quid, man.
No, but where you finish also depends on the prize money. Where you finish.
Exactly.
So they could get more prize money just from having him and finishing higher in the tournament that he could pay for himself.
Fair enough. That changes.
Do you not just think it just winds Chelsea fans up? This
that changes.
They're crying for a goalkeeper.
I didn't realize there's like decent prize money in the tournament.
You know, one thing, the only thing that would be good from this if they get the deal done for cheaper later on. But right now, I think they're wasting.
How much cheaper did he want it? It's 20 million quid, man.
Bro, it seems like 2 million they're haggling over, 5 million euros.
I just think Chelsea.
I guess that's the question, though. What's the? Because I've only read the reports of them expecting like the numbers changing on them, and they're saying they like when I read it, it was like they were going to get it for less, and then they propped it up. So what is the difference in what they're asking for? That I guess that's the question.
You know,
like what's the difference?
No, not off the top of my head. I have to go back and look. I've been told by Chelsea fans it's 10 million pounds.
Because if it's a $10 million pound difference, and they had the rug pulled out from under them, that's what this is. It's more political than anything.
I seen something that said Chelsea valued him at like, what was it, 15 million, and AC Milan value him at 25 million.
25, yeah, it's around that. But this here is from a guy called Dougie, who is he's a reporter for Sky, but he's very well versed at Chelsea. He says Chelsea reportedly refused to match Milan's very reasonable asking price for Maignan, a clear upgrade and a goalkeeper who is amongst the best in the world, because they don't want to pay their briefing to the media. Chelsea is a club World Cup tax, having bought 49 players under Bowley and Clearlake's ownership, including spending 42 million on João Felix, 30 million on Dewsbury Hall, 20 million on Jorgensen, and 19 million on Kellerman, who is yet to kick a ball for the club. Not to mention the amount wasted on Mudryk, Dazarsi, Badiashile, Okachukwu, Sterling, and Koulibaly, amongst others, during their ownership. Feels like one of the most most avoidable errors this mistake-ridden era. So that's been endorsed and shared by lots of Chelsea fans. It's not me putting it out there, not me sharing it. So as much as some Chelsea fans are defending it, there are a lot that just look at this and think, okay, you can call it a club World Cup tax, but it gives us more of a chance of winning it. It's secure. And the one where the error does come in, it's about later on down the window. If I was told today, United, you could get Gyökeres, but you got to pay 60 million. You might get him for 50 million if you leave it longer, but there's a chance that somebody else comes in to secure someone who is a needle mover. I'm prepared to go a little bit over the odds, only slightly, but a little bit over the odds. So I just think Chelsea should have got that deal done, especially if they get to the end. Remember, the deadline is in 4 hours' time. If they don't end up with Gittens and they've got no new goalkeeper, I do think they've failed in their objective to significantly improve the team in this 10-day window ahead of the Club World Cup. And that's why they put this window in, so teams could go into it with the best possible chance of winning. And I think it is a mistake. Personally, I agree with the Chelsea fans like Gav here who think it's a mistake. Charles here says, not a Chelsea fan, but if they'd signed the players City have so far, LB would be saying the exact same thing he is now.
No, that's not true.
Well, no, I probably would. I probably would, because they don't need a left back. They've got Cucurella. They don't need a 10. They've got Cole Palmer, and they don't need an 8 because they've got Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, I would be saying that. Well done.
No, I meant the level of quality. If they went and signed.
Well, I can't answer that because he's put. If they sign the players City have so far, I'd be cooking them. Yeah, I would be cooking them because they don't need any of the players that my club signed. Horrendous comparison.
Yeah, he's got you there. Come back with another super chat.
JC says, LB, we have quality players returning from loans
that are going to win you the Premier League. Yeah.
Who besides Esteban and Santos?
Are these players going to win them the Premier League? Surely that's the aim, no?
I think those players could potentially win them the league in like a couple years' time. But right now, I don't think they're ready to win anything next season. Like
it's a couple years' time, man. Couple years' time.
Things change in a couple years' time.
But you're never that far away. Like we're right. We're
not that far away, which is why I'm saying go out there now and spend the money and get the proper players in who've experienced and can win.
Yeah, you remember what it's like to be that far away.
But clearly, Chelsea look very reluctant to either one break their wage structure for somebody like Osimhen. And also, if there is a player out there that they really like, that they would be willing to break the wage structure for, is probably somebody like Rodrygo. I wouldn't expect Chelsea to go and just let Arsenal only get Rodrygo by himself without being in the race. Same with Man City, same with Liverpool.
You're not understanding, guys. You not see why some Chelsea fans are annoyed.
I get why Chelsea fans are annoyed, but in the same breath, Chelsea have spent ridiculous amount of money over the last couple of windows, and maybe they're changing their approach, not trying to overpay on all these players.
But they're not overpaying. Paying 25 million for that AC Milan goalkeeper is not overpaying.
They value him less. What can we do?
So they're buying a goalkeeper that's worth less than 25 million. He must be crap then.
No, he's definitely a good goalkeeper. It's just Chelsea
are value at 25 million. It's the math in. He's either worth 25 million and they're going to pay the money because he's got 1 year left of the contract, or they value him at less than 25 million. He must be crap.
There's two things going on. One, they're trying to stick to a strict wage structure, and two, they might be trying to stick to a valuation for their players that they don't want to go over. We've seen that work for teams like yourself, Man City, who didn't want to go over the valuation for Harry Maguire, didn't want to go over the valuation for other players in the past. We see that. Some clubs don't want to go over valuation. Some clubs do. In the past, they paid over the odds for Enzo, and maybe they could have got him for a lot cheaper.
For me, it's that list of players that Terry listed off, and a lot of them that aren't good and going to play. I do think there's death by 1,000 cuts at some point with Chelsea. I hear you guys. I completely understand when you say like it. You're right. For the money, it makes sense. All that I hear you. But when I put it in context of how these guys have spent and how many misses they've had, I do think at some point it comes back. I think at some point, like as a United fan, I feel it. At some point, you can't. You make millions of mistakes. The only thing that I will say in this situation with the Maignan situation is that you can probably sell some of your other goalkeepers to make some of that money up. You do have players you can sell. Like the one thing about Chelsea's model that allows them to make these mistakes is the players they buy have resale value. So if they were looking at it that way, then yes, you bring them in and then you start offloading. But they've got to have that in place, like a plan to do that. And I just think it's death by a billion cuts at this point with Chelsea.
Like if Chelsea sell Jackson, then we're going to see them go and get a proper striker. If Chelsea sell Madueke, then you're going to go and see them get another winger of experience. I do think there's more in this upcoming window.
Where are you getting that from, though?
Because, for example, Jackson has been linked away from the club.
Yeah, but where are you getting that they will go for a player like Gyökeres who wants £250,000 a week in salary? Because
maybe not Gyökeres, but maybe they go back in for Ekitike.
Yeah, but again, that's still Chelsea. So the Chelsea fans who are complaining about needing more experience, they were saying that about the signings of the Ekitikes as well. You know, the more experienced players are the Osimhens, the Gyökereses of this world. Let's have a little look here. This is what Zane says. Zane says, do the panel think that Williams and Gyökeres can make Chelsea win the Premier League or the UCL? I don't think Chelsea. I don't think so. Chelsea need a world-class goalkeeper, centre-back, and another CM just to be in the Premier League race with Chelsea. With City and Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Nico Williams and Gyökeres win them the league.
I think it puts them right in and around it.
No, they do need a goalkeeper and a centre-back, but centre-mid, you have one of the best centre-mid stacks in the league.
You had Mike Maignan, Williams and Gyökeres to that Chelsea team. They're in a title race.
They're in a title race. There's no question about
it.
Sorry?
Who's the defenders, though?
Who cares? Well, they're going to Chelsea.
They had the best. I'm not saying win the league. They're the third best defense in the league last year. You add a world-class goalkeeper and then an attacker on the left who's as dangerous as Williams and a striker that scores the goals that Gyökeres does. They're in that title race. Didn't say they'd win it. If they added a world-class centre-back, then maybe they win it. But I think that those three players moved the needle massively, in my opinion. To the earlier super chat, I don't think Chelsea can sign 4 world-class players. I play all of them world-class wages in their current financial position. Mate, they're in the best financial position in the league against FFP and PSR.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
They're the best. So they've got no financial restrictions. They've got no financial problems. They've now got a shirt sponsor. They're back in the Champions League. They have 0 issues. They've lowered their wage bill by probably nearly 100 million from where it was, say, 3 or 4 years ago. They're in a very comfortable position now financially. They could afford 4 players on £250,000 a week. They could afford 4. And by the way, Mike Mignon's not going to want that amount. Most centre-backs don't get that amount when they first join clubs. So they've got £1 million a week in salary sitting there they could easily pay. When they're 300, they can afford to lose 300 million before they're anywhere near a PSR breach. So £1 million a week, that's 1/6. So basically 1/6 of they're more than fine financially. No issues there. Seems really strange that for a player they desperately need in the one that is the one they draw the line in the sand for and won't pay the extra 2 million. There is a strangeness to it. There is a strangeness, especially if they now go and pay this extra 10 million for Gittens.
Yeah,
but not for Maignan. It's again, I think that Maignan moves the needle more than Gittens does, and I do think Gittens is a good signing. I think he's a good player. I've heard Chelsea fans say that these signings over the last few years are the future, blah, blah, blah. Can't be upset now that they're not spending another billion when that future is now, is what Tony says. That is true.
One thing I was looking it up, that's why I was typing away on the whole Gyökeres, Nico Williams thing. Chelsea have the 3rd highest possession in the league, right? So when we talk about like 57.2%, they have the ball a ton, they create a ton. So when we talk about adding players like that up front who are going to add the goals that they need to win, I think it would be like they would be like top 2 in my opinion in a title race. Like it would be that big of a difference if Chelsea go out and get
if last season in that 3-month period where they went from being 1 win off top to scrapping out for top 4, top 5. If they had Isak, if they had Gyökeres, if they had Osimhen, I think they finished second last season. They finished above Arsenal, and I think they finished above Arsenal by 5, 6, 7, 8 points. The amount of those games they lost through not having finishers alone is a massive indicator. Or the goalkeeper, mate. Even like you go back to like the Fulham game, they lost, missed big chances, and the goalkeeper fucks up. That happened 2 or 3 times. And the issue is when you get to this stage of Chelsea's redevelopment of their team is you have to start nitpicking. And yes, to get that extra 5 goals, that extra 10 goals that puts you from being 4th into a title race or in a title race to winning it, that sometimes costs you 100 million quid. And that's what you've got to be prepared to sacrifice and go for. And I just think that Chelsea, there's no harm in getting a Gittens and getting a Delap, but that can't just be it. There has to be room to go out there and go, bang, we need this star now. Because that is what all the best clubs in the world have done and will always do to win league titles. You can have a kind of youth project where you're buying lots of brilliant young players. Man United have been famed for doing that for the best part of 100 years. The likes of, they weren't quite 100 years ago, but the likes of Sir Bobby Charlton, the likes of Sir Duncan Edwards, the Busby Babes, they weren't from Manchester. They were from Birmingham and the Northeast, respectively. In the 60s, we had one of the, in my still opinion, one of the great, well, he's still one of the greatest players to ever grace this land. Came through Man United's academy, but he was from Northern Ireland. He's not from Manchester. So there's nothing wrong with having an approach of getting these youngsters, but you've got to, there comes a point where I think you've got to add that ready-made star quality in. And I'm intrigued to see. And one thing I will say in defense of Chelsea, today is not the end of the summer transfer window. There's a long way to go still. This year says Chelsea fans understand the owners. Sorry, Chelsea fans understand the owners. The UK government forced us to make rookie mistakes. Now fix it and improve. Can't have a new player making 300k per week. Cole Palmer is on 150.
Of course you can. Cole Palmer's won nothing in the game. Yeah. You go and get, I don't know if Osimhen or whatever, you go and get a player that's won titles, then that's when you get the big money. Cole Palmer can get a contract extension and get a wage increase when, he's done it for more than a year and a half or whatever. Of course you can. Or just give Cole Palmer a new contract. You can't just be like, so what are you saying? And you're just saying that Chelsea just can't sign any player now over 150 grand a week. Is that it now? What, Cole Palmer got a contract until like 2035 or something? Is that Chelsea done now? They can't play any player now over 150k until Palmer leaves or gets a new deal. Come on, man.
I think it's the right player, but Victor Osimhen, I think he wants even more than 300k a week, if I'm not mistaken. How much does he want?
That's what he was. No, that's not. That's what he was asking for to go to Saudi, and then he ended up saying, "I don't want to go to Saudi." Clearly, he was increasing that price week in, week out because he was trying to create a wage or an income that offset his lack of want to go and play in Saudi. And in the end, he was like, "Shit." I feel like he was making requests that they wouldn't give, so he could walk away and say it weren't on him. But they ended up giving him what he asked for, and he had to almost embarrass them a little bit by saying, "Actually, no, I've changed my mind and I'm walking away." He wants to stay in Europe, and I get it. Petrovic just won League R Keeper of the Year and is statistically one of the best goalkeepers in Europe. That's why we aren't thirsty for Mike. But then why even bid for him?
Yeah, don't bother.
Don't act like this is copium. This is really copium. You definitely wanted Mike Maignan, and to say you're not thirsty for him is only because your negotiations didn't work out. They were literally negotiating until last night.
De Gea over Maignan, better season with Fiorentina. I didn't watch much. I can't comment. I'm a Milan fan, and I can tell you, Maignan is definitely getting sold this window. We need to raise another 70 million, so surely Chelsea are low balling. Yeah, it probably will go, and they might still get him. If they get him for the price they want, and he goes on to be a good keeper for them, then fair play. I just think that they could have done with him for this competition, which Chelsea fans are taking seriously. The club is taking seriously. You know they are. They're trying to sign players for it. You know, City have taken it seriously, getting 3 players in for this tournament. Everyone's taking it seriously. So, you know, we're judging it on that as well. This is a trophy that people want to win. Moving on from Chelsea, I just want to touch base on City. 3 fantastic signings ahead of the World Club Cup. You must be chuffed with Cherki, Renders, and Aït-Nouri for, I believe, a combined total of about 130 million.
Yeah, I'm buzzing with the signings, man. I can't lie. Finally getting a left back at my football club. First proper left back I've had, who hopefully will stay fit in getting on for a decade, which is great news. I think Aït-Nouri is a player that has high potential. I think he's got the potential to be a world-class player within a year or 2 years, but even now he's a good player, good level, and that's good enough for me right now. Reinders, Serie A midfielder of the year, solid football player. I think he'll come in and just get on with it. You know what I mean? And then Ryan Cherki is the sort of sky-high potential, has got it right now. He's obviously had a great year at Lyon with his numbers that he's put out. Brilliant debut for France. But this guy's got seriously world-class, mad potential. Like, it's so talented. So, yeah, happy with it, man. We got him on a cheat, which is nice as well. Not that I'm that fussed. But, yeah, we still need more. We still need a right back. And we might need an Ederson replacement, man. But, yeah, buzzing with the signings, mate. And then, obviously, we got Rodrygo coming back as well, which is great news. Hopefully, Foden will be at the races this year. Yeah, there's no reason why we can't win that league next year, man. So, yeah, buzzing. Happy with his job that they've done.
Gal, how nervous are you looking at all those signings there on the screen for Man City?
Hey, let's see how they acclimatize. Honestly, it does look scary on paper, seeing Man City going addressing all their key areas so quickly, so swiftly. Everyone else is taking their time. You got Man City already bringing in 4 players, basically, and they're looking to bring in a 5th. Honestly, Terry, just looking at that, it makes you think Man City is going to come back and win the league next season. But there is weaknesses in some of those players' games. Let's see how they acclimatize to playing at City, where they're going to have to be a little bit more isolated. Aït-Nouri is going to be really good offensively. Defensively, I still have questions about him defensively. Cherki, he's a quality player. Looks so gifted, what a talented player. But there has been questions about him off the ball and just how he is overall. Reinders, I don't know any negatives about him. I can't really comment too much about him. He does look like a good goal-scoring midfielder. So yeah, from the outside looking in, Man City look like it's the Leicester window all over again after Leicester won the league. They're retooling, ready to go again. And as somebody who had an opportunity to win the league the last couple of years and didn't, I am kind of kicking myself looking at this and saying, hey, we need to start getting our act together. Man City is really having a dangerous window on our hands. And look at that. How much money did you guys spend over the last year now since you last won the league? And you just don't stop. You keep going, keep going. That's what I call ambition. Fair play to Man City.
We spent, I think, 250 or 260 we spent, I think, since January.
Including January, how much total? 400?
No, we spent 175 plus, what did we spend this? So, yeah, 260, something like that. 250, 260.
You know what? I was thinking, I'm one of those people who are saying Ryan Cherki right away is going to be showing that he's one of the best signings, value for money signings in the league. This kid looks amazing. And I don't think you've seen enough of him in the Europa League when he played against Man United. He didn't show his best, I don't think, in those games. But you can see
he showed flashes though, didn't he?
Yeah, he showed flashes. I just like, so the one thing about Cherki, and I'm not trying to diminish this kid at all. I do think we've entered a realm of severe overrating when it comes to Twitter and football people. I think for the price, amazing, great for City. I'm annoyed at that. I am very annoyed. He should not have gone for that price. But clearly there was a 1 year left on his contract. There was a gentleman's agreement, and they stuck to it, which is always good to see clubs do, to be fair. And also Lyon's in financial trouble, so they weren't going to fight too hard. My only beef with the Cherki stuff right now is like, and I brought this up with my boy Staffy and a few others, just seeing like people on Twitter, he's got more ability than Mbappe. He's going to be a way better signing than Wirtz and such. And I'm like, let's let him land first, because I think he does have some deficiencies that will show out in the Premier League. I do think he will get ran past a couple. I think when you start comparing him to players, and I don't like doing this because I think it's unfair, but players like Wirtz who have done it, won it under big lights, it's not fair yet. I think when you compare him to an Mbappe, which is insane, and say he has more ability and all this stuff, and you know I've always been a big anti-ballers person in the sense where you talk about it like, oh, all the stuff he can do on the ball, like that's great, I love that, awesome, I agree, that's cool. But like when you come to the Prem, a lot of those things you could do, you can't do anymore, right? Like there's certain things you just aren't going to have time on the ball to do. You're not going to be able to do, and I get it. People who watch him say like it'll translate. I'm of the mind of I need to see it. I think the best signing for them right now out of those three is Reinders. As somebody who watches Serie A, he's a box-to-box. He's awesome. He's a great midfielder. When I watched AC Milan, he always stood out to me. So that's the one where I'm like, no one's talking about, for me, the signing that's probably the best signing for them, which is Reinders, the guy who has a little bit more experience, who literally for me is like a big missing piece in that City midfield. Somebody who can do both, box to box.
Him and Rodri in the midfield.
Exactly. They're going to interchange. You're not going to feel like you. And when because Rodri gets forward every now and then, he scores the pips of goal. You're not going to feel that gap as much when Rangers has to cover for him. You're not going to feel. It's just going to work, in my opinion. That's a very good pairing, and that was the one that nobody was talking about. That I'm sitting there being like, that's probably their best signing. And everyone always focuses in on the guy who can do all the flicks and tricks and the cool shit. And Pep doesn't allow his players to do a lot of that. That's not him. And I'm not saying Pep's going to ruin him, because I don't agree with that statement either. I think that's dumb when people say Pep ruins players. I think he's going to fit in, and I do think he's going to lose some of the stuff that everybody thinks he's amazing at. And the Nori signing allows Guardiola to go back to, in my opinion, his best position, which you brought him in, and correct me if I'm wrong, LB, he's a center back, right? Like when he was bought, he was a center back, and then he was put at left back because he was your best option there. So when Guardiola goes back to his best position, now you have Nori on the left, now you have Reinders. That, to me, those are the pieces there that bring City back to kind of where they need to be. Because instead of it chopping and changing and trying to figure out, like, I don't even know what, like, Pep didn't know what to do in the midfield last year when he had, like, he was mixed, he was trying everything, and it's indicative of what he does normally, but it was a little more than usual. I think he's going to have a settled team now, and that's scarier to me than like the world class potential. If Cherki hits his potential and does everything that everyone's saying, then the league's kind of fucked. And it sucks that it's going to be based on the fact that he only costs. This is what's going to bother everybody moving forward. It's how much he costs, right? So,
but it's also. I look at it like this though. That was a gentleman's agreement, right? Not a buyout clause.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? So,
yeah. So for me, I remember. Listen, we all know how good Kante was, and one thing that used to, forget fans doing it, because fans are meant to be like this. I remember people like journalists like digging other clubs out, City, United, Liverpool. Look, you guys have got to go out and do some business like Chelsea did. £27 million they got Kante for. And I remember sitting there listening to it, wanting to punch the radio when I'm driving to work going, there's a buyout clause, you fucking idiots. It's not, that isn't, it's that would have been back then, that was like 10 years ago now, that would have been a 60, 70, 80 million pound signing with no buyout clause. I'm not, City getting him cheap is fine by me because there's a gentleman's agreement in place. Similarly to if you can get Yorkres for £55 million for a player that just scored 97 goals in 105 games is ridiculous. When City got Haaland for 50 million, it wasn't because City were great negotiators, it's because there's a buyout clause. What they did do is they secured the player. They agreed the personal terms, which is the important part here. But I just did the maths on it, converting euros to pounds. Since January, it's up 295 million. And that's me taking figures from transfer market. But still, for City, they're able to do that. And there's still probably room left to go. Why? Because they're always selling players. I mean, they sold some player for 25 million euros this summer who I've never fucking heard of to Dortmund, called Jan
Couto. He's played for Girona. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they've just sold him for 25 million euro. So they raised money. You know, last year they made 140 million in sales. The year before that, 138. The year before that, 100.
And the prize money.
But Tal, it doesn't make it less annoying, though. You're right, but it doesn't make it less annoying.
The interesting thing about these signings to me is what happens to City's golden boy, Phil Foden. I want to know.
I was waiting for that.
I want to know.
I was waiting for that, man.
LB, what's going on with Phil Foden? He was supposed to take over the reins. He was supposed to take over the reins.
No, don't happen.
Reinders coming in. Where does
Unlike you, I put Manchester City Football Club first. You put Saka in front of Arsenal all the time. I don't care about my football team, so I want my football team to win. So if Foden gets back in the
wrong person.
If Foden gets back into the team, he gets back into the team. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's up to him to get himself back into the team.
He cost them nothing. He can't get into the thing. It's like, what happens with Foden doesn't matter.
That's what I wanted to know. Because if to me, it seems like all these signings are showing that you guys are. I think they're probably going to walk into the team. Reinders walks into the team. Cherki walks into the team. Where do you see Foden playing?
I see him playing probably off the right. Probably. Okay. But he's got to get himself back up to it, man, because last year he was poor.
Yeah, I'm going to put this on the screen in a second, but I saw this earlier on today about how they're going to solve the Phil Foden problem. And put this on the screen. This includes all the potential new signings of Livramento and Costa in goal and stuff like that. And that's a scary bit as well for City going into next season. That there is no. I mean, let me show you. It's not even a dig. It's one of the honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever seen. It's very, very good. Just wait for it to load and then stick it on the screen. But yeah, there's still more players to come at City as well. That's the sobering factor. There's more players to come. But that was a solution. What do you guys make of that formation?
What are they doing?
Isn't there an extra player on the pitch?
Yeah. Some City fan posted this game. This is how we could play next year to fit everybody in. And I don't know whether he's joking or he's being serious. But I was looking at it and I was like,
that hurt my eyes.
That's funny. I kept on looking at it and I couldn't work out what the problem was.
I think drop Doku out of that team, and that's
a good team. Then I'm like, wait a second,
there's too many players.
There's too many players. On that team.
Drop Doku out of that, and that'll be the team for me.
See, what you could do with that team is you could have like 2 10s and 3 10s if you like.
Yeah,
something that split. Your fullbacks there will create your width in that team. I think that'd be brilliant. Mamouche, Cherki, Foden centrally, Reinders and Rodri behind them. Nuri and Livramento bombing down those wings. Oh, it's sickening. It's sickening. But
it could be like back Brazil, back in the day when they had the similar formation where they had the 2 10s, the midfielders. You're right.
I'm not going to lie, though. I'm of the mind of, and I hate saying this, but like, we need somebody to win the league other than Liverpool next year for me. So I'm cool. Like, it's not going to be us, and I just can't deal with the Liverpool back-to-back. So City, figure it out, because like it's not going to be Arsenal. It's not going to be Arsenal. I made the mistake last year. I backed Arsenal for the last 2 years. Heavy. Backed you. Like, talked to you. I was like, they got it. They're going to figure it out.
I've got a theory on that as well. Ever since Gary Neville started to back you guys, you've gone backwards. You need Gary Neville to not back you. He's like a jinx. Do you know what I mean? So
back this again this year.
This here says, Will the new players gel? If ever there was a chance for Pep sacked or Pep walking, this might be the closest season. Big if though.
Maybe
It does take Pep a year to embed some of his players.
You ain't got a year. I did say this. Someone super chatted yesterday saying like who will be the first top 6 manager to be sacked, and I think the top 3 candidates are quite simply Ruben, Frank, and Maresca, which I think is fair. You could argue Arteta. I just threw in a left field kind of objective argument of if City don't click and start really badly and have problems like last year after all this money being spent, I could see Pep walk in if that scenario happened, because I don't know if he'd go.
I don't think he'd walk. I don't think he'd walk during the season. It would be at the end if that was to happen.
Pep would never quit.
No, he would never walk it during the season. He might get to the end of the season and go, "Yeah, listen, you might need someone new," but he's never going to walk halfway through the season. No way.
D here says, bookmark this. Cherki will outperform Wirtz next season.
We'll see. I think that is
back it, man. Let's see what happens.
It depends how you define outperform, right? Like, are we? And I'm big on stats and GNA.
Cherki's going to be on less pressure than Wirtz. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, that's true. But Wirtz handled the pressure, in my opinion. He won the Bundesliga with Bayern Leverkusen. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I believe in the intersection of ability, talent. I think it's everything. I don't just look at somebody's skill. There's so many skilled athletes, not just footballers, athletes throughout history who had all the talent in the world. And when the lights get bright, when everything comes down and they got to show up, they don't. If he does, kudos. I'll give him his props, but he hasn't, like, I can't say that definitively. I've seen what Wirtz didn't do. I've seen it. I've like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't take it away from him.
I wouldn't be surprised if Florian Wirtz takes a little bit of time to get used to. I
wouldn't be surprised if both of these players take a little bit of time.
And if Cherki right away it hits the ground running.
I don't see. That's the thing. I think it's more realistic that they both need time.
That's
I'm going with Cherki, just slightly outperforming, but I think they're both going to do. The thing is, I think they're both going to do well. But I don't think either will flop. I think they're both going to be brilliant. I think they're both brilliant football players, and I think they're both physically good enough, and I think they're both technically good enough to deliver in this league. So it's one of those things. I want to get involved in the debate, but I don't want it to be like those weird Messi Ronaldo debates where one group, or like Hassan when he debates Paul Scholes, he always has to lie about Paul Scholes to prove his point. I'm not going to put anyone down here because I think they're both going to do well. I just the same about Cherki. I think Cherki is. I saw Culture Cam get a lot of shit for it this week, but I agree with him. I think on terms of ability,
I hate that take.
I think Cherki's one of the best in the world. I really do.
But his take was better than Mbappe. He said more ability than Mbappe, and that was my problem.
I think he does though. I think anyone that's watched Cherki can see that his individual talent is one of the best in the world. Now, whether or not you can actually get goals out of that, or assists out of that, or consistent performances, who knows? But that's not an L take.
I agree with all of this. I just say
but surely that falls under talent, no?
You can't say so, but like Kylian Mbappe, you just can't go. Cherki has more. In my opinion, that's where you destroy the arguments. That's where it gets. Why? It's not fun anymore.
Why?
Really? Like Kylian Mbappe is a World Cup winner.
No. But you're taking anything away from Mbappe. In fact, you're giving him praise because this guy's performed on a consistent basis. We've seen so many. So hang on a minute. Adel Taarabt, yeah. This guy was better than so many different players in this league. So many different players. Yet he didn't achieve anything compared to some players in this Premier League. So if you can say this player has more talent than another player.
I watched Kylian Mbappe drag a Monaco side to a Champions League final at 19 years or 18 years old.
He's not talking about that. He's talking about individual talent of the player, the footballing ability. You seen what that goal that he scored? The ball coming across, he kicks the ball up with his right foot and then volleys it in from the edge of the box, clean strike with his left.
Okay, but do it when it really matters, is what I'm saying. When it truly matters.
But that's not the argument. He didn't say that.
That's when you start. That's when you can start defining players' ability, because you know what? You put me out on an intramural field to play football or whatever, I can look great. You throw me into a team with lights on and everything, all of a sudden things change. When I've got to follow instruction, when I've got to do it when a game's on the line, when I've got to win a game that matters for me to win a league, I truly believe you just got to leave certain players out of arguments. I think Wirtz and him, cool. fine. But when you start doing the Mbappes and these players who have reached the echelon
but did he say he's a better player than
he has
Mbappe?
more ability? He said he has more ability.
But he does have more ability than Mbappe.
I
That's
just
clear.
don't know if you can agree with
that. Doesn't mean he's a better player than Mbappe. Because when you talk about who's a better player, you've got to then look at consistency of performance and what they've done, like you said, when the lights are on, when it really matters. So Mbappe is a better player, but if you're just judging the actual talent at a base level, he's one of the most talented players we've seen. He's so talented. That doesn't mean he's going to turn out to be a mega football player, though. Balotelli was an unbelievable talented player. Guy that didn't achieve it like anywhere near as what he should have done in the game because he didn't do it consistently enough.
You know the thing is, I think what we're doing is we're talking about technical ability and just flicks and tricks and your ability to show the beautiful side of the game. And if you want to say Cherki is better than Mbappe, and that fair, but overall talent, you also have to include other things like your shooting ability, your ability to pass, your overall qualities, not just
athleticism, your speed.
Your athleticism also should be categorized under that. Your God-given gifts should also be included in that, not just your ability on the ball.
Yeah, because exactly.
Which is why I would never say Mbappe. I'd never say Cherki's a better player.
I don't think Cherki would say he's more talented than Mbappe.
I don't think he would either. I think when it comes to ability, you have to consider things like what Mbappe has is that blistering pace, is the ability to like. There's just certain things that he has that Cherki for me doesn't at this stage, and I'm one of those people. And ask anybody who knows me, I will always hold my hand up and say I got it wrong. I just think in this moment, I think we are going too far with this kid.
I just think you're changing what I just think. I've not seen the clip, right? But I imagine what Cams is saying is that just based off
a tweet. It was just a tweet.
So I don't know how he defines it.
I imagine what he's saying is just the
two most gifted players in the world right now. And I think he had a picture of Cherki and Lamar or something like that.
This here says, who wins the 100-yard dash, Cherki or Giroud? Cherki, he's quicker. The word talent has become aesthetics. Shake my head.
No, it's not actually, because that's really poor coming from you. Because one of the most talented football players I've seen is Santi Cazorla, and he was an unbelievable player, 2-footed player, unbelievable footballer. And I see a little bit of Cazorla in Cherki. I think Cherki's probably got a little bit more flair to his game than Cazorla. But Cazorla, I see a little bit of Cazorla in Cherki. And he was a brilliant player. He's one of my favorite players. He was one of my favorite non-City players. So are you saying Cazorla's just an aesthetics merchant? No.
He also says in LB's world, freestylers are the best footballers.
That's just not true, isn't it? But okay.
I know. Andre here says Milan fleeced Chelsea for Pulisic and Ruben. That's why Chelsea won't overpay for Maignan. Yeah,
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Renders is horrible in defense. Virtually.
By the way, can I just pull up people saying that Cazorla had more flair than Cherki? I did what?
Because Cazorla was definitely one of the most like eye-popping players on the pitch.
He was a brilliant player, but he didn't have the flair that Cherki's got. Like he was one of my favorite players. Like I'm not dissing, but people are trying to say that he's more sort of flairy than Cherki. That's crazy.
Cazorla was a magician. He's
one of my favorite players, not one of my favorite Man City players, non-Man City players. But people are saying
he had flair though. He definitely had flair.
Yeah, but these are guys that say he has more flair than Cherki. That's wild.
That's based on how you judge it. I'm not gonna.
You don't agree with that.
More.
You don't agree with that.
I'm not gonna say more or less, but I do think Cazorla on the pitch, you can see he's technically gifted.
Bro, I've just said he's one of my favorite non-City players of all time, but there's no way anyone's going to tell me that Cazorla had more like flair to his game than Cherki. That's absolutely insane. Did some of these guys not watch football or something?
Well, I haven't seen enough of Cherki to say he's head and shoulders has more flair than Cazorla.
Right, that's crazy, man.
He's a great player. I'm not hating on the player. I just don't like the comparisons. Just to make that clear, I think he's good. I just don't like yeah.
Alex here says, does that mean Jeremy Lynch is more talented than Kante then? Is Cherki even a guaranteed starter at City?
Yeah, he is. He's a guaranteed starter.
I imagine he would be a guaranteed starter, given that my team has no creativity.
Jeremy Lynch is definitely more talented than some professional footballers.
Yeah, but he isn't. He isn't. I'll tell you why. So this is the difference. The talent of Cherki, You see it in real games, in real football matches. The talent, the Jeremy Lynch, by the way, I was actually watching his video with Imbermo the other day, and he's an amazingly technically gifted football player. Like he's got a footballer of some sort. You know, he's very talented on the ball, but I don't think any more so than most of the players you see in the Championship, League One, League Two. You could take players from Leyton Orient's first team right now, and they could do those kind of shots and goals and things that he does on the training ground. There's one thing doing that in training, and then there's doing it in a football match. I've even seen it on the playground. You'll have a kid in the playground who's the best kid out there. You put him in an actual football match where there's rules, where there's offsides, where the other team's in a structure, and they look awful. So the reason Cherki's ability is just what Kante could do on a ball in a game, even when it comes to him just driving forward with it, Jeremy Lynch couldn't do. Otherwise, Jeremy Lynch would have been a professional football player for many, many years. So yes, maybe Jeremy Lynch can do better tricks with the ball. Because I remember Scott McTominay being laughed at because he couldn't do that round the world trick. The man who just won Player of the Year in Serie A. He was being laughed at by people that got dropped from academies when they were 12 years old. Just deep that for a moment. Like getting all those guys that laugh at Scott, even those guys that are good on like Baller FC, put them in a cage against Scott McTominay and watch him dominate them. I just don't think people realize that the comparisons are always wrong. Yeah, some 100-meter sprinters look really slow when they were racing Usain Bolt. It's comparative when you're up against. Like, let's not go crazy here. Cam, everyone says Maignan has more talent and more ability than McTominay, even though Maignan isn't yet performed at a higher level than McTominay.
I'll respond to that. So I don't know. Most people, you may not know, I haven't spoke about my opinion on Maignan this year, like very publicly, because I'll probably get destroyed for it. But I'm in the world of like, he still has to prove it. Like he still was part of the team that finished 15th, and like he's got hurt quite a bit. In my opinion, like sure. Like I listen, I'd rather Maignan. I'll say this. I'd rather Maignan, but I was never a Scott hater. I think Maignan has to prove it. And I think for Maignan to prove it, it's going to be this year. And if he doesn't prove it, like I'm in the camp of like, this is people to rip me apart for this take. I'm in the camp of I'd rather sell Maignan than Bruno. That's just like, because one of them's done it for me. One of them's proved it. So I'm very much show me. That's who I am. I've always been show me. It's like, I've seen the flashes. I know he's got crazy talent. I know he's young, but I'm a show me guy. That's it.
I hear that.
I think you guys should sell Bruno, by the way. And I haven't been on the show in a while. I think every time there's like a major rebuild, you sometimes have the opportunity to sell a key piece for a transformative amount of money. And if you can get, what was it, 90 to 80 to 100 million for Bruno Fernandes, that could really help you guys push forward and get all the pieces you need going forward.
I hear that. Jeremy Lynch was the best player Wenger had ever seen. That's true. Arsenal confirmed again today, Igal, that you've got Zubimendi. There was a lot of fear mongering, a lot of scaremongering, whichever term people prefer. Yeah. That Real Madrid were going to take him away from you, but that deal has been confirmed as agreed again today. Were you nervous at all?
Terry, I was not nervous. I was laughing at the fact that people are willing to change their mind in a second, because I was getting people saying Zubimendi going to Arsenal, he must not be that good. All of a sudden, Real Madrid are linked to him again, and all of a sudden, he's a second coming of Rodrygo. So I just love the fact that everyone keeps flip-flopping. I think he's a quality player. We've seen what he can do in the Nations League, how good at breaking the lines he is, and that's what he's going to help us with the most. We just did not have enough line-breaking passes through the middle of the pitch last season. We're very much dependent on the wings, and he adds a different element to our game. And I can't wait to have Zubimendi holding up the shirt so we don't have to hear from people talking shit anymore about him not signing or Real Madrid coming and getting him. And yeah, it's just nice to see that a lot of people rate the player that we're about to sign, and we're about to get a really good player for a good deal, as he has a pre-agreement with his club to go for 51 million or something like that.
That was a good signing. I think he's a really, really good player. I wanted him at City. Funny enough, he's actually a downgrade on what you've currently got, which is kind of mad, but it is a good signing. You need more, still need a striker. Don't like this. I think Sesko's...
He's a downgrade on who? Jorginho, who left?
Partey.
Partey's going to stay.
Yeah, but you're going to play them both together?
what it is you have both of them there, so it eases his transition into the league. You don't end up losing to the Fulhams and the West Hams early in the season because you still have Partey.
Yeah, but when Partey leaves, he's
We're
not as good as
talking
Partey.
about a year from now.
Right, okay. But I don't think it's a good signing. I just don't think he's as good as Partey. That's all. I wanted him at City. I think it's a good signing. Still think you need more. And your rumoured transfers, I still don't think you win the league.
I think Zubimendi right now is better than Partey at breaking the lines. And that's what
So do you think Partey is going to be dropped then?
I think Partey is going to be utilized similar to how Jorginho was utilized. He's going to get 25 to 40 games where he comes in, subs, starts sometimes. But regardless, what we're doing is we're getting a squad. We're building a squad. People always talk about Arsenal not having a good squad. Hopefully, if Partey stays, we then have a good enough squad to go on to compete and win the league. Because a midfield with Thomas Partey, the options of Thomas Partey, Zubimendi, you're going to have Mikel Moreno, Declan Rice, Odegaard. That's a lot better than just taking Partey out of that mix.
No, I agree. I just don't think it's enough. And I don't think you're doing anywhere near enough as a football club.
We're just getting started, mate.
I thought you signed Sesko as a striker.
Hey, if we sign Sesko and we sign Rodrygo, it balances out.
What's the latest Rodrygo news? Someone saying in my chat today that Arsenal was getting Rodrygo or something. What's happening?
Rodrygo's on his way out of Real Madrid, apparently. And there was a report today. I don't know, Terry, did you see it?
Go speak. Yeah, go on, speak.
There was a report today that this guy, Argentinian journalist, let me just pull it up. What's his name? Something Kirk Milos. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him. But he was talking about Rodrygo is definitely going to be leaving Real Madrid, and Arsenal are one of the main clubs after him right now. So there's been numerous reports that Arsenal are 100% going after Rodrygo. Numerous reports from all sorts of journalists saying that Arsenal are heavily looking at Rodrygo. But I do think Arsenal view him as the needle mover. They might not view Gyökeres as a needle mover. They might view Sesko as somebody who is potentially the better option out of the striker options. But Rodrygo, rumors, is what's moving me right now because that is the needle mover for me. That is the player who comes into this team and changes our fortunes because I do think Rodrygo he reminds me of Alexis Sanchez. He was playing at a team where he's not asked to be the main man. He's not asked to be the guy who takes the game by the scruff of the neck as much. He's not playing in his preferred position. He's constantly being moved around to acclimatize to the team and the better players. But if he comes into Arsenal, I think he would take us to another level because he would be playing in his natural position. He'd balance out the team with Saka on one side and Rodrygo on the other. Immediately would be one of the best like fullback, the wing duos in the world. And yeah, the rumor is he will be leaving Real Madrid this season. Arsenal are obviously very keen on him, and we just have to wait and see what happens.
I think your whole season depends on getting Rodrygo. If you don't get Rodrygo, you ain't winning the league.
Yeah, if you get Rodrygo, I'm not going to back you again because I don't want to look like an idiot 3 years running. But if you do get him, then you have to this is you've got to be closer than 10 points off or whatever. It's got to be a race all the way to the end because that's an intense signing. I can't say this. I can't say about Chelsea and then not say the same thing about.
What is this source, man?
This is a very, very, very trusted source. As much as you want to,
what's his name? What
Kiko Suarez. He's the one who reported that the Argentinian kid that from River Plate is joining Real Madrid. He's also the one that's now reporting that Rodrygo to leave Real Madrid this season, and he's saying obviously Rodrygo will be an Arsenal player very soon. That is what he's saying. Now, if this is getting me excited, but obviously Man City, Liverpool, there's going to be other clubs trying to come in and try to get him. I'm hearing Liverpool, if they do sell Luis Diaz, they're going to try to come in for him also because Rodrygo is one of those players that if he's available, everyone's going to try to get him. So I do think there's going to be competition from Chelsea and Liverpool. But right now, I hope Arsenal can pull off the Rodrygo deal, and then it allows the Sesko situation to be a little bit more bearable for me because I wanted Gyökeres, but if Sesko is the one that the club's going to sign, I'm not going to go against it. At the end of the day, I back these guys to trust their judgment. They scout these players, and they believe that Sesko could potentially be one of the best strikers in the world. in a year or two's time, and then he has the
In a
capability.
years or two, in a couple of
Hey,
years.
regardless, if they're able to make Mikel Moreno work, if they're able to make Mikel Moreno work to the level that they did,
Can I ask you
Sesko
a
is
question?
definitely an
Gal?
upgrade.
Can I ask you a question? I like Sesko. I think he's a good signing, but I want to be objective for a moment. Is the reason you were defending Chelsea so hard earlier is because you have to, so that you can defend the Sesko deal when Arsenal get him?
No.
Is it kind of like a premeditated attack so you can plant a seed?
No, because I honestly believe Chelsea are the closest team to Arsenal, and I could see them overtaking us if they continue to do the business that they're doing.
Okay.
Couple of years. It's always a couple of years with these clubs, isn't it?
Hey,
A couple of years, couple of years.
We're not Manchester City. We don't spend 300 million over 2 windows.
You say you're one of the biggest clubs in the world. You've got a massive stadium. You spent £70 million in the whole of last season. Your club has the money. They just don't want to spend it for whatever reason. That's your problem.
You know something? We don't have the same level of financial push that you guys do.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
You told better you would.
Manchester City sell very well. You've earned a lot of money off winning recently.
Spent 70 million quid in the whole of last year, y'all.
And Man City, let's just be honest, your owners are a lot better at doing business. At Arsenal, I'm not gonna be 100% real with you if I say anything like we can match what Man City have been doing over the last couple of years with signings, with players coming in. First, we just need to get these guys like a Rodrygo in through the door. I don't think we can pull off a window like you did this window.
So you're telling me
as easy it would be.
We spent
right
115 million quid this window, so I don't need to talk about. You're telling me Arsenal don't have the financial capacity to spend 250 million pounds this window?
We're gonna spend 200 million, but it's gonna be probably on 3 players max.
That means you're signing elite level players. You're spending 200 million on 3 players.
I think Sesko and Rodrygo are good signings. Like, I don't know why we're acting like there's a ready-made striker.
If you're saying that's the player you think you're getting, then I think that's a good window. If you're saying you believe Zubimendi, Rodrygo, and Sesko are your 3 players, I actually agree with you and think, yes, that is a strong window.
I think Arsenal's window is going to be Zubimendi, Rodrygo, Sesko, Kepa, and potentially one more defender after sales. That is what I'm thinking the window is going to be. If Partey were to leave, then we're going to have to shift and get another midfielder also. But at this moment in time, rumor has it Partey is going to stay. We're going to bring in Zubimendi. We're looking at Sesko as our number striking option. And as much as everyone hates on Sesko, he is an upgrade on what we currently have to our disposal. And him and Havertz are going to be the options at striker next season. Left wing is a massive upgrade in Rodrygo compared to Trossard and Martinelli. And if we go and get a backup keeper and another backup defender, we've now improved our squad depth, so we hopefully don't have the same level of injuries next season. As much as everyone is getting moved by Florian Wirtz and Cherki, let's be 100% honest. Rodrygo to Arsenal is a bigger signing than all of those.
Wayne here says, wait, Arsenal don't want to spend money when Gyttens is cheaper than or the same price as Sesko.
I think there's an issue with Gyttens that people don't want to speak about. Why are all these top clubs not going head and shoulders pushing hard for Gyttens as the first option?
Like what clubs? Arsenal,
Chelsea, Liverpool, because even Barcelona, because he scored a ridiculous amount of goals. From the eye test, his goals look very much transferable to all our leagues. We've seen him do it in the Champions League. Why is it everyone is acting like Rory, talking about him like he's just not going to be good enough, like they talked about Haaland? Is it that we're missing something? Or
hang on a minute, how many teams are going for Sesko?
No, but there's at least 3 teams looking at Sesko. But Gyttens right now, it seems like all the rumors is that his options are Manchester United, Juventus, and Saudi. Why aren't Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal looking at him anymore?
Well, Chelsea, you spoke about it earlier, and you said about the wages and the money. So you kind of addressed the Chelsea one. Liverpool are very much focused on getting Wirtz over the line. And the other teams, City don't need a striker. Real Madrid don't need a number 9. Newcastle don't need a number 9. Spurs ain't getting him, as an example. But Barcelona are sticking with with what they've got. I mean, but let's not be twisted here. Barca and finances. We're not pretending that they're not flush, are they? Like the idea that teams are not. There's also another thing to factor in with Gyökeres. It's been reported that United are quite comfortable for this to move into July if it has to financially. There's a lot of strong reports that he wants United, and it's about us finding the money to get it done. So there is a strong possibility the news will come out that he's just told other clubs no and he wants to be a Man United player. That would make a lot more sense than no one wanting him. Because again, I agree that his goals will be smaller in the Prem. Sorry?
I don't think that's true, Terry. I think obviously if he had a choice to go to a team like Liverpool, Arsenal right now, who are more competitive and challenging for a league, he would rather go to those clubs.
Well, couldn't you told his agent to tell everybody else other than Man United no?
I don't think anyone was not.
Mbomo said no to Arsenal.
I think it's more of a sign that a lot of clubs are standing clear of Gyökeres, and Manchester United are pretty much getting.
I think you could say the same about Sesko. I don't see a club queuing up for Sesko.
Hey, I think Sesko is a lot of people's second choices. Also, I agree, but Arsenal have him as a number one choice. I think he's Liverpool's second choice for Ekitike. I think he might even be other people's second choices. But for example, right now it seems like Arsenal are the only ones who are serious about Sesko.
Is that not a red flag for you though? The Arsenal, like the only football club in the world, it's only Arsenal the ones that are serious.
We scouted him. We scouted him last summer. We were scouting him in January. We tried to bid for him in January and last summer. The club has been going after him for the last couple of years.
Yeah, but but hang on a minute. The thing is, what you're doing there, yeah, you're doing this thing with Gyökeres and going, why is no one going for Gyökeres apart from United? Yet you're doing the same thing with Sesko.
Sesko's 22 years old. I personally think he has a lot of scope to grow, but I think Gyökeres right now is the better player. But why is more people not going for Gyökeres, who is 26 years old?
Why is more teams not going for Sesko?
Because he's 22 years old, still has a lot of improvement to go.
I look at it this way. I'm not gonna be sort of dragged into that argument about why aren't more people going for him, because nobody else is bidding for Gyökeres right now. Nobody else tried to sign Cherki. Liverpool made an inquiry, but no one else tried to sign him. No one else has tried to sign Aït-Nouri. And the reason for that isn't because they're bad players. It's because it's obvious. They decided where they wanted to go, and they said, that's the club I'm moving to. A lot of people saying, Terry, where did you get the news that Mbomo said no to Arsenal? Fabrizio and David Ornstein. They both literally said it. And it may not have been a bid or personal terms he turned down, but you inquired and what each of those journalists have said. And if you want to challenge, don't challenge me, challenge them. It's not my information. That Arsenal, Newcastle, Spurs inquired to buy the player, and the player said, no, I want Manchester United. The point I'm making about Gyökeres is you could be right, Igal, that lots of teams are avoiding him because they're not sure. And he comes to Man United and he's awful, and you get it. It could also transpire just like the Bruno Fernandes deal all those years ago, and I'm using the Fernandes deal because of the sporting connection, that he said well in advance that this is the club I want. So teams step away and look elsewhere. There's a reason. You know, LB was one of the only City fans online that said this. City didn't walk away from Wirtz for the money. It's because he was told no. And so for me, I'm not going to, you could be right, but I'm not going to sit here and speculate when there's no evidence of it. Does that make sense? There hasn't been a single report I've read that has said lots of clubs are avoiding Gyökeres because they're not sure about him. If you've seen them, send them to me and I'll read them and I'll change my mind. So you could be right. You could be wrong. This year says Igal, Arsenal will sell well next season when Saliba and Saka want to go to Madrid after they fed up of the light bulbs and pickpockets and 0 trophies. So you'll sell good then.
Good banter, but I think if we have the window that I'm expecting us to have, we'll be right up there with City and Liverpool. And I expect us to get over the line and win it.
I will never get Arsenal fans' lust for another defender unless we are selling Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, and MLS. Also, no to the new defenders. If we want to spend, get Eze and Rodgers. A great super chat.
I think when I say defender, I'm looking at the potential of Tomiyasu never being available and fit, Zinchenko leaving, Kieran Tierney leaving, and saying bring in another £15 million backup defender. Nothing wrong with that.
Come on, Terry. Ornstein said that Arsenal wanted Mbeumo as a backup, so it's not like they were similar offers. This is a fair point, but also we don't know what Arsenal have offered to Gyökeres because the report, again, coming out of the same newspaper that Ornstein works for, is that no matter who Arsenal sign as number 9, Kai Havertz is still the main man. So again, it might be that Arsenal have said to Gyökeres, these are the personal terms, and he's agreed to them in principle, but they've said you're going to be second fiddle, because that's what's being reported, right? So we can only go on what's being reported. So therefore, he might be saying, well, you know what? I like that offer, but right now the best one for me has been Manchester United. Until something better comes along, that's who I'm going to go for. But there hasn't been no inquiries. Arsenal have spoken to the player. Juve have spoken to him. Big club in Saudi that offer big money are looking at Man United. A lot of the other big clubs that everybody mentioned already have outstanding number 9s at their club. Therefore, they're not shopping in that market as of right now. So it's just not something I'm overly stressed about. If people want to say he's a bad striker and won't deliver, just say that rather than asking an open-ended question. But the facts are, you offered Mbeumo an opportunity to join Arsenal, and he preferred the Man United offer. And that includes team status, and that's part of it. Sometimes players like the salary they're offered, but not the way the team's going to play football or the role they're going to have at the club or the status they're given in the team. That's all part of personal terms. And Man United could get them agreed. And sometimes you have an advantage, not because you're the better team, sometimes because you're the worst team, because you've got an opening for a player and you've got more space for them. For instance, signing anyone on the right-hand side is hard because they're not starting over Saka. Same for Liverpool. Man United would have more chance signing Mbeumo than Liverpool because he's not starting there because of him. So these are all part of it. I'm not sitting here going, he picked us because we're bigger and better than you. That's childish content. That's not what I'm doing here. But the facts are, we can't just make these claims that maybe there's a problem with Gyökeres because we're not seeing everyone try and sign him. There's reasons for it, and nobody seems to want to explore the logical reasons, barring the banterous ones.
I think that's why we have a good chance of getting Rodrygo, because he looks at that left-hand side and says, you know what?
No, it's true. It's of course it's an open.
Sorry, I've got a dip, man. Sorry, I was meant to.
No worries, mate, bro. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Cheers, bro. We need that. Gyökeres is like that girl who looks good from a distance. With all the makeup, but when you get closer, she's got stinky breath. Man are running away from her, is what D says here. That's quite funny. Screw all that. I would rather go and buy both Sesko and Gyökeres before buying a defender.
We're not going to do that.
Injury-prone Tomiyasu remains fit for a season. There's a lot of depth.
The marquee signing is going to be Rodrygo. Sesko is going to be like the striker that we get, but really and truly, he's going to have to fight for his place.
Barca want Julian Alvarez next summer. They are sticking with Lewandowski for another season. And again, there's a logical reason as to why a club isn't making that move. With MLS, Calafiori, Gabriel, Kivior, Saliba, White, Timber, Tomiyasu, and the most of them are versatile, can play multiple positions. Stop this madness. Igal, phase 6, you still using squad excuses?
I'm not using excuses. I've made no excuses.
I don't think he's making excuses. He's just giving his view. Listen, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. Please do me a big favor and hit the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing. We're back a little bit later with a deadline day show where you guys are going to be able to phone in and have your say. Give us your thoughts and feelings on these transfers. There's probably going to be some more breaking news in the next hour. More negotiations right now between Dortmund and Chelsea for Gittens has just been put out by Fabrizio. Igal and obviously LB and Cam back to leave us already, but thank you to all of our super chatters. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in to the show today. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.